Hey there, Central Ohio. Thanks for watching 10 TV Plus. I'm meteorologist Michael Behrens.
And I'm meteorologist Aaron White. And finally, a drier day after a lot of rain here recently, and nice to see the sunshine out there.
Oh yeah, it's nice to get a stretch of quiet weather. I mean, some places in Ohio, they've dodged a lot of these showers, but many of us haven't had that kind of luck, and it has been a rainy, humid, hot month of July.
Yeah, and mentioning the humidity, I stepped outside earlier today and just noticed that you could already feel it. Just actually felt comfortable walking outside, and that's going to be kind of the thing today and tomorrow. Just enjoy, like nice weather, really.
Yeah, I mean, it has been feels like a long time since we've had really comfortable weather in place out there, and that's the case for today. So make sure you get outside and enjoy it. That is your main weather impact as we head through today, tomorrow, really at least through Wednesday. Quiet and nice weather, perfect to get outside and take in any activity or any form of enjoyment that you want to do. It's going to be great weather to do it. I want to share the time lapse from this morning. You could see those clouds racing by, and then we just had a beautiful sunrise out there. This was about 6 a.m. You could see those wonderful reds and oranges as the sun was coming up over downtown Columbus. I've got a better photo of this even on my Facebook page if you want to go check that out. But of course, we had to deal with the clouds right after that sunrise, and then we're going to deal with this kind of mix of clouds and sun through the rest of the day today. We'll see at some points sunshine winning out. This was earlier in the morning with more sun than cloud, but we've still got some more clouds that'll eventually drift overhead. I want to show you something else that made things more comfortable this morning. That was the temperatures. We got down well into the 60s out there. 66 in Columbus, 60 in Marion, 60 Mansfield, 65 Newark, and 61 in Millersburg. These were all in part due to the drop in humidity that has made things much more comfortable out there. The temperatures fell to around the dew points this morning, especially those northern counties where we got down into the low 60s this morning. You guys woke up to a little bit of patchy fog. Visibility was quite low at times, but the sun quickly burnt that off, and we're going to be heading for a comfortable afternoon with low humidity as a result. By about the late morning, those dew points had already fallen into the 50s for a number of portions of central Ohio. 58 was the dew point in Columbus, and we're going to continue to see these stay low through the afternoon and really for the next couple of days. In fact, as we head through the next 12 hours out there, despite the warming conditions, we will see lower dew points, with dew points hanging around in the 50s throughout the day today. It is going to be a very comfortable afternoon, and that stays the case again through the next several days. Dew points out there will be down into the 50s and 60s for the next at least 48 hours. They start to tick back up some by the time we head toward Wednesday, but they don't really get uncomfortable again until we get to Thursday and beyond. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, dew points back up there into the 70s. This is when we'll start to get a little bit more unsettled in our forecast too, and where we could see some rain return to the picture. But that won't be for today. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds through the afternoon. Temperatures out there pushing into the low 80s come later today, making for a very comfortable forecast. Those temperatures will drop back down tonight as skies clear out. We should see lows even in Columbus in the low 60s, if not many places I would expect outside the city getting into the upper 50s by the time it's all said and done. If you head outside, don't let the mix of sun and clouds and the cooler temperatures fool you though. The UV index will be high today, very high, level 9 in place. Make sure you're covering your skin, using that sunscreen, and of course reducing your exposure, especially if you're going to be outside for a long period of time. Here's the big radar picture. We've got some rain activity as of Monday morning that was back out toward the west, but you can kind of see the motion on this. This is drifting further to the south. Same with the moisture that's in Indiana. This is mostly moving toward the south. What we are going to get out of the system, though, is that high-level cloud cover that's just sort of being shot up into the atmosphere and drifting its way over toward us. You can kind of notice the difference here between the storm motion and this cloud cover motion, which is flowing much more toward Ohio. We're going to avoid the moisture, but again, we're going to have to deal with that cloud cover as we head through later today. Here's the hour-by-hour forecast. Shows what we're talking about. Clouds drifting through during the afternoon. No real chance for rain as we head through the day. Today should stay dry. We'll be back to more of a clear pattern by the time we head toward tonight. And as we get into Tuesday, our forecast stays quiet. Take a look at this. This is Tuesday morning. we are moving, believe it or not. You can see the clock moving the numbers, but there's nothing happening here because we are looking at pretty much a perfect sunny day as we head through the day tomorrow. It is going to be a great one to get out and enjoy. Here's your 10 weather impact 7-day forecast. We stay with the comfortable temperatures Monday and Tuesday, 83 your high this afternoon. Some of us, I don't think, are going to make it out of the 70s later today, especially some of those northern counties could see highs in the upper 70s. It is going to be a very comfortable afternoon to get out and enjoy, and I definitely again encourage you to do that because you don't get many days like this in the middle of July. Tomorrow, 84, even more sunshine than today, just as perfect. Low humidity, it's going to be great. Wednesday, we start to get a little bit more uncomfortable, at least with the heat. Not really that humid yet, but we get back up toward 90. We're in the low 90s by Thursday. We're going to change that forecast a little bit from what you saw earlier this morning. We're putting that mostly a dry day now. We're not going to totally rule out rain. We've still kept about a 20% in there because we're in the 90s and we got the humidity, but I don't think we're going to see better chances for rain until we head toward Friday and Saturday. Unfortunately, we're hoping to dry out by the back half of the weekend, but we're also going to increase that rain chance come Sunday as well. So we think those stormy conditions might stick around a little longer. At least the rain will push temperatures down just a little bit. We'll go from the 90s on Thursday and Friday back down into the mid and upper 80s by the time we head towards Saturday and Sunday. But again, it's going to be a little bit of a stormy pattern by the time we head to the end of the week. So, well, if you're like me, I have tomorrow and Wednesday off. I've got the perfect forecast scheduled to enjoy these conditions. But if you're waiting for next weekend, yeah, it's a little stormy again.
Yeah, a little dicey here for Saturday and Sunday. But honestly, tomorrow, really, it's a perfect day. I mean, perfect sunshine, like you mentioned, 84 for a high, and that morning low 60. And we talked about this, maybe a few places into the upper 50s, especially with those dew points in the upper 50s. Not bad. Maybe don't have to run that AC here tomorrow, at least for a little bit. But, we'll take that.
Definitely. Any break you can take for the AC in the middle of summer, save you a little money.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah, and honestly, just get outside, enjoy it, soak it in before we get that heat. I mean, 92 degrees, a little toasty here by the end of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of getting outside with all the nice weather, you're likely wanting to head outside and enjoy it, but you should keep an eye out for ticks this time of the year. Health experts are warning people about dangerous ticks. In northern Ohio, there's a focus on black-legged ticks. The Lorain County Public Health Department continues to monitor that species along with the larger dog ticks that can make you sick.
If you get a lesion on your skin, and you may not necessarily see the tick in the center, but the classic for Lyme disease is this target lesion, this targetoid lesion. So it's got a red circle and then it's got a white space around it and then another red space, and it tends to be enlarging. That's a pretty classic target lesion that we see in Lyme disease.
And keep your family healthy by wearing long pants and tall socks if you will be walking or hiking in wooded areas. Experts say if you do get a tick bite, use anti-tick products to get the insect off your skin as soon as possible.
Yeah, definitely some good information. And I just wanted to mention, I always get creeped out by those tick videos, just like watching them crawl around. It's just like, let's just get that out of here.
Nasty little guys.
Yeah. And speaking of staying safe outdoors, across the nation, there are concerns, and those concerns are growing about the rise of West Nile cases across the country. And so far this year, 50 cases of the mosquito-borne disease have been reported in at least 16 states. And about half of are described as severe, even though it is a common disease. A new study from the CDC finds only 1 in 4 health care providers can correctly diagnose the virus.
The key here is to use mosquito repellents with DEET or Picardin. It's the same kind of advice we give you really for any mosquito-borne illness, for ticks. It's not really any different. And I think the key here is to be aware that there's even West Nile in your areas.
Now, common symptoms of West Nile include fever, headache, body aches, and vomiting. In general, cases are mild and clear up in a few days to a week.
Yeah, you know, of course, it is nice. Even when we got to dodge the ticks, we got to dodge the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
At least we're having some weather where we can get outside and enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's been a while again here in Central Ohio. But you know, that wasn't the case this weekend. You were tracking storms across Central Ohio, and it wasn't even just in Central Ohio. There were all kinds of storms across the country. and officials in several states actually still grappling with the recovery from recent disasters. In Texas, lawmakers, they enter a special session today to focus on flood recovery efforts. Bradley Blackburn is tracking the latest.
In Central Texas, recovery work is underway while the search for flood victims continues. More than 2 weeks after deadly flash floods, remains are still being found.
It's just a heartbreaking scenario, and unfortunately, there's a lot of us still looking for answers.
But the state says the number of missing has now dropped sharply, from more than 100 to just 3. Lawmakers are set to meet in Austin for a special legislative session today, where relief funds and flood warning systems are on the agenda.
We're going to look for strategies that we can pass laws on that will make preparation for these types of events better.
Over the weekend, more severe storms hit, bringing hail in Maine and rain in Maryland, where some drivers got stuck in flash floods. In the Midwest, powerful thunderstorms dumped rain in Iowa and Indiana, where a funnel cloud was spotted Sunday afternoon. In North Carolina, volunteers are still working to help survivors from Tropical Storm Chantal, collecting and distributing diapers to those impacted by the storm 2 weeks ago.
Things dry up. People are still in need.
And out west at the Grand Canyon, there are more images of the impact of wildfires. These pictures show the little that's left from Grand Canyon Lodge. Saturday, Arizona's governor toured the national park by air.
We're going to do everything we can to help support managing this fire and then get to rebuilding.
The fire burned more than 18 square miles and is still not completely contained. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Yeah, like we said,
kind of wild.
Yeah, crazy stuff out there. But part of that severe weather, I mean, we had some here in Ohio.
Yeah.
It's really been the flooding. It's been an active season.
It has been.
Really the entire U.S. and including here in our state.
Yeah, I feel like it's the year of flooding, really.
Yeah.
We've seen it, just so widespread, of course, across parts of Central Texas there in the hills country with all the flooding that occurred on the Guadalupe River. Now, over the last 7 days, there's been also more heavy rainfall, especially around the center of the country from around St. Louis, where you see some of that purple showing up there. And especially around Kansas City, there's one day just in the last 7 days where about 5 to 10 inches of rain fell around the Kansas City metro, leading to more flooding. And as you saw in the video, we also saw some flooding around Maryland and in the DC metro, as they also had heavy rainfall just in the last couple of days. So there's been just more of that. Just really, it's been a continuation. Now we are going to catch a break, at least for this week, before we get more systems building in for the end of the week into the weekend, and that could also lead to some more flooding concerns. Now, as we talk about flooding, this map, all the green that you see there, those are all of the flash flood warnings that have been issued. Over 3,100 flash flood warnings have been issued across the United States this year. This is all since the first of the year. So we are talking about just a widespread amount of flooding. A lot of the concentration, again, there in Texas, parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, and even all the way up here into Ohio. We saw some flooding really here and there through April, May, and even into June and July. Just some flash flood warnings even more recently across parts of Athens County. We also had some flooding around Buckeye Lake just recently, so it's been pretty active.
It's been, like you said, a very active flood season, and thankfully we had some impactful flood events here in Ohio, but we've avoided some of the worst like they've had down in the south.
Yeah, we really have. And I mean, after the little bit of rain that we had over the weekend, it was kind of getting a little bit concerning. I know we had a flood watch in effect yesterday because there was that concern that if we got any more heavy rainfall, it would lead to that. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, and now we're quiet for at least a little bit.
Yeah, we need some quiet weather here. And keeping with the flooding topic, let's turn now to that recovery in Texas. Members of Ohio's Task Force 1 are still in the area today. Task Force 1 says right now that team is dealing with rising temperatures as it helps search and rescue efforts. The group also says searches are often delayed because more debris is being exposed as water levels continue to fall, and that reveals new zones for searching. Task Force 1 says that it's committed to helping Texas for as long as needed.
And staying in Texas, people are expressing concerns about looting in their neighborhoods. Homeowners say thieves are targeting homes that are slated for demolition, taking appliances left on the curb. Volunteers helping with the demolition efforts say it's not obvious who is taking things, as anyone in the area could be hired to scrap the material.
People that come in with their existing, small business of scrap metal, they got a big trailer on them, and they're either just looking willy-nilly to grab whatever it is, or to give Regina or somebody else a problem.
And there are other ways scammers strike after severe weather hits. Experts with the Better Business Bureau say that it includes fake home repairs. Experts suggest never taking a cash-only deal, always ask for references, and making sure the contractors have the proper licenses.
Yeah, and keeping with the weather and severe storms, wildfires, well, they're all driving up insurance costs. A report from global reinsurance broker found out the storms accounted for at least $33 billion in losses for the first 6 months of this year, while wildfires accounted for about $40 billion. The report said it's been the costliest first 6 months of the year since 2011, and insurance losses are expected to surpass $100 billion for the entire year.
Yeah, which is just wild. And talk about 2011, of course. Remember back to that year when there was a big tornado outbreak, the super outbreak that devastated parts of the South. So wild to see that we're seeing similar to or more expensive numbers.
Yeah, I think like a lot of that's been fire and flood related this past year. And we've been previously speaking with insurance experts about how to best protect your money before these types of conditions and severe storms strike. They say a way to make sure that you're saving money is to not just think about your home, but your entire property.
If you're a homeowner that has other structures like a pole barn or a detached garage or a garden shed, if you have something else on your property that would be another structure, you want to make sure that you've got appropriate coverage for that as well.
And another idea is to invest in sensors that can actually detect water in your home. I've got a couple of those in my home near the water heater. A small portable generator can also help out in case of a power outage.
Yeah, definitely some good idea. And I think a lot of places are, even some apartment complexes are starting to install those little sensors to detect anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, response is one thing, but prevention, that can go a long way, or at least early warning.
Yeah. And as we continue on, rural solar energy projects designed to generate electricity in rural areas are facing a lot of resistance, and more than a quarter of Ohio's counties restricting or banning large-scale developments. One of those projects is moving forward in Knox County. 10 TV's Colin Dorsey is looking into the pushback and how the developer is addressing those concerns.
How is Open Renewables handling some of those concerns? How do you address them?
We obviously want to make sure that people who have genuine concerns, those are addressed. And we do that through grassroots outreach, door knocking, making sure that people not only are aware of the project, but know that we're available to answer any questions that they have.
And coming up later tonight on 10 TV, we look into the project, the opposition, and the rural lands are being preserved in the county.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting story to see later tonight. And continuing with our environment news, let's take some time to check out some stories from around the country with CBS News Climate Watch.
We're keeping an eye on the climate. Here's what you need to know. As communities grapple with flooding across the country, a new study from UNC Chapel Hill found flooding in North Carolina has been far more frequent and widespread than previously thought. Researchers mapped 78 floods between 1996 through 2020 and found more than 20,000 buildings flooded repeatedly, compared to FEMA's count of just 13,000 since the 1970s. Nearly half were outside official flood zones. Turning to clean cars, if you're thinking about buying an electric vehicle, now might be the time. The $7,500 federal tax credit will expire on September 30th. EV sales dropped earlier this year, but analysts say this quarter could break records as consumers rush to cash in before the credit disappears. And finally, your dog could help save America's farms. The spotted lanternfly is damaging crops and forests across 18 states, but a new study found pet dogs trained by their owners, can sniff out its eggs with 92% accuracy. Researchers say training dogs could help protect vineyards, orchards, and ecosystems from limiting the spread of invasive species. That's your Climate Watch. For the latest on climate and environmental news, go to cbsnews.com and follow us on Instagram at CBS News Planet. I'm Jesse Mitchell in New York.
And finally today, let's check out some new video into us here at 10 TV. Here's what the weather looked like this weekend in Hong Kong as people stay inside as Typhoon Wipa hit the city. Had gusts of 103 miles per hour, whatever it's called, and that's 165 kilometers per hour. Officials issued their highest alert. That was a T10 for just the 18th time in 80 years.
Oh, wow.
That's crazy. Around 500 weekend flights at the airport there were canceled, and 400 more were facing delays. 14 people suffered injuries requiring some hospital treatment.
Yeah, it's just some wild video seeing all the waves whipping up, of course, with a typhoon, and thankfully, it wasn't a lot stronger because, of course, they've had some of those super typhoons with even higher winds out in that part of the world.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's only the 18th time they've had that there in China. So, I mean, you usually get at least some protection from those outlying islands, but every now and then you get stuff like this.
One kind of goes through, yeah.
And scientists, well, they're delving into the frozen files of a prehistoric secrets packed into a chunk of ice. It's pulled from nearly 2 miles deep in East Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
It's a long way down. Ice core is one of the oldest ever drilled and is now being analyzed at a lab in Cambridge, England. Ice holds a climate record going back nearly 1.5 million years. A chilled log of ancient air temperatures and CO2 levels. Researchers will melt the ice to slowly study the trapped air bubbles inside and see the snapshots of Earth's ancient environment.
Interesting. Yeah, it's curious on what they're gonna end up finding, like with those CO2 levels and just like different things from like that long ago.
Yeah, one of the things people often ask us when it comes to climate stuff, and they're like, how do you know what the temperature was this long ago? How do you know what the environment was this long ago? And this is one of the ways you do that. You got to really literally dig for it, drill for it.
Yeah, really.
But you got to look at things like ice cores or soil environment layers or rings in really old
geological
trees.
layers and stuff for different big impacts, big things that have happened over a long time period. But those ice cores have really been studied for a while now. And like you mentioned, 2 miles deep to actually get so far back, because you have to go far back. You have to go really far down into the actual ice core to register that.
Yeah, and it's amazing some of the things you can tell.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of things you can tell it's the end of our 10 Weather Impact show because we had those check this out videos, and it's going to be a quiet week. So get outside and enjoy this afternoon.
Enjoy your weekend too.
Yeah, I will be enjoying my weekend later today. But if you want to plan for the actual weekend and the next round of storms, Chief Meteorologist Jerry Martz, he's going to be here this evening to catch you up on the latest forecast. Till then, get more online, 10tv.com.